This is just a video about me being super excited. I think I might do like a video of what my current setup is and then how I changed it to this setup and then how I got it to work.
Okay, so 2 years later, I'm finally making this update. I was kindly reminded that I said I would do one, and even though it took me 2 years to get here, I'm glad I waited. My setup has gone through several iterations to get where it is today. As you can see, I have not reduced how many things I have in my setup. I said in the unboxing video I like to do everything analog, and that hasn't changed. So I'll show you how I have everything routed, some essential things I've added to my setup, and go over some basic tips from what I've come across in my 2 years of using the looper. I can say that I absolutely love it. It has helped me write a lot of new music that I probably wouldn't have written without it. I love the build up, I love layering, and it's so much fun. And if you're interested, I'll have a sample of one of my loops at the end of the video. So my setup consists of the RC505 Mark II looper, of course, the Nectar Pacer MIDI foot pedal, my mixer. I use the Alto Professional Live 802. For keyboard and drums, I use the Akai MPK Mini Play. I believe this is the first version. My microphone, which is the SM7B, and I have the Cloud Lifter for that microphone. And I have a variety of guitars, but I usually use my Ibanez Acoustic Electric. I also do have my old Line 6 amp with a switch pedal that I use occasionally, but right now my guitar is plugged directly into my mixer. I decided to keep my mixer in my setup because I just liked how things sounded a lot better when they were routed through there rather than directly through the looper, which can be done, I just chose not to. So in my mixer, I only have my microphone and my guitar. The microphone is plugged into a Cloud Lifter, which goes into the mixer channel 1. The mixer has phantom power built in, so I have to make sure that that is on for the microphone to work because I don't use the phantom power that is built into the looper. And then my guitar is plugged into the line on channel 2. So then on the back of the mixer, I've got a cable running from that to the looper. It's coming out of the main mix left balance into the back of the looper in instrument 2 left. Left is a mono channel. So any sound that comes in from the mixer is nicely balanced, and then you can control the balance and the volume of the individual instruments that you have plugged into the mixer or your voice from the microphone directly from the mixer, and that will translate right to the looper. In the instrument 1 on the back of the looper, I have a cable that's running out of my Akai MPK Mini Play. It's coming out of the headphone jack so that all the internal sounds run into the looper. I like the Mini Play because even though it's a MIDI keyboard, it has built-in sounds, so it can just be used with that as a standalone. The next thing that is plugged into my looper is my headphones. So one tip is when you're using your headphone cable, make sure that you have a TRS connector. That means it has 2 lines on it. So if you take a look at the plug, the 2 lines mean that it's a stereo. If it's just 1 line, it'll be mono. And then if it has 3, that's for a built-in microphone. So sometimes if you're using a 1 or a 3, it's going to cause issues. So make sure you have a TRS, which is the 2 lines on the connector. The next thing that I have plugged into the back of the looper is the Nectar Pacer that's plugged into the MIDI in. This allows me to control my loop tracks with this foot pedal, which is perfect when I'm using my guitar. That way I can control the loops hands-free. Initially, I was using 2 of the Boss FS7 pedals, but I like the flexibility I have with the Nectar Pacer. I can assign each track to the corresponding foot pedal, and it has 6 across the bottom, so I use the 6th pedal to start and stop all of the tracks. And then next, I have the USB cable, and that runs from the looper to my computer, so I can use it as an audio interface when I'm live streaming. And then the last thing that's plugged in is the power. I also use this setup with Ableton on occasion, and I can use the sounds via the Mini Play, but I prefer not to use a DAW when I'm live looping and performing. That setup is mostly used for music production. If anyone's interested in the specifics of how I have things set up, like the foot pedal with the looper, if there's enough interest, I can make a video that's specifically about that, so let me know in the comments. The great thing with this looper is that you don't need to be plugged into a computer to use it, and you don't need a ton of equipment. You can directly plug your microphone into one of the 2 mic XLR spots that you have here. Mine are empty just because everything's running through my mixer. But you can directly plug the microphone into one of those spots. I just recommend knowing what kind of microphone you have and if it does require phantom power. If it does, you want to make sure to turn that on in the looper. Otherwise, the sound is going to be extremely low. You'll barely hear it, if you can hear it at all. For a guitar, as long as you have electronic pickups in your guitar or whatever instrument that you're using, that can go directly into the loop station as well. To find the phantom power, you're just going to click on the menu button, and then you're going to see input, output, mixer. Click on input, and then you're going to click on setup, and then you'll see the phantom power right there, and it'll show you for mic 1 and mic 2. So you just switch that on or off based off of which one you're using. Another thing I recommend is to take advantage of the customizations you can have on the looper. You can see here I have the knobs on my main interface customized. I use mine to change my memory banks, my headphone level, my bounce, and my track 5 bounce in. That's if you want to combine loops into one track. For me, having control of my headphone volume was huge. To customize this, go to menu and press it 3 times to bring you to setup. On setup, hit the right arrow twice and you'll see the knob functions. You can scroll through them and set them up with whatever works for you. But having control of the phone's level so that I can hear myself when I'm singing was a big deal. You can also change the output level knob. For that, you go to menu, output, setup, and you'll see the output knob. You can then change what the knob will control. I have mine set to master so it doesn't impact my headphone volume since I already have that mapped. I definitely recommend staying up to date with the drivers on here. There's been quite a few times where I've just run into some weird glitches. The very first video with the unboxing, I was already giving tips on how to resolve some of the bugs that the looper had. With the driver update, that is no longer an issue for me, so I don't have that problem anymore, which is great. But sometimes there's just like weird little bugs, like the loop will freeze if you do a really short loop. Sometimes when you're shutting it down, it will freeze. But I honestly haven't had that many issues with it. If anybody has questions about that, just let me know and I can do a little quick video about how to do that as well for the driver updates. But definitely keep it updated because that helps resolve a lot of the issues that you might run into. So that's it. That's my insane setup. I hope that this was helpful. If you've got questions about how I have my things set up or anything, let me know. And then I'll leave a little sample of how I do my loops next.